Well, hello, 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 hello. I don't know if I should speak in Portuguese or I should speak in English. I think today I'm going to do English. All English World Cup, United States in the round of 16. We beat Iran, or is it Iran today? 1-0. Pulisic, 1-0, and the United States made it through. It was a tough game. I usually do this live, this broadcast for my soccer blog, SC Internacional blog, Brazilian team, um, in Portuguese. And today, though, being that I live in New Jersey in the United States, the state that produces the most American World Cup players. That's not a real stat. I'm just making that up, but it sounds that way because it seems like a lot of these players come from New Jersey. Aronson, and if they're not from New Jersey, they're from New York or Pennsylvania. Close enough. The old school guys were all from New Jersey too. Tony Meola, Alexi Lalas, and Tab Ramos, and other guys. So anyway, I'm gonna do this thing here. I just want to go through the today's action and the situation of the World Cup, my thoughts on what's going on, and where I think they're going to go. Does anybody care? I don't know. It doesn't matter, but I just want to get it out there. So, first of all, the game US 1, Iran 0. Now, I'm saying Iran because I discovered today that there was a reporter that was upset with our players, for pronouncing Iran as Iran. Now, I always said Iran myself. So now that I know that it's Iran, I'll say Iran. But here's the thing. I think that question at the press conference was uncalled for. He, first of all, okay, he said the reporter said to the American player, Adams, he asked him, how can you say you respect our country, but not pronounce our name correctly? Right? And Adams went on to apologize for that, and that's fine. He wanted to be elegant about it. But the truth is, if that was me, I would have asked the reporter. I would have said to him, before I answer, can I ask you a question? You know that team that Neymar plays in? What team is that? Let's see if the reporter would say Brazil, as Brazilians say it, Brazil, right? There is no responsibility of any player or anybody that lives outside of a country to pronounce another country's name the way the natives pronounce it. That's ridiculous. The whole concept is absurd that the guy would even ask him that. But he was asking him that to cause trouble, to kind of put them up against, the wall. Um, but and Adams answered it in a politically correct way, right? But the truth is that's not, I doubt that reporter says every country's name in the way their natives say it. So just a ridiculous question. And then they went on to ask other stupid questions. But in the end, didn't matter because the United States eliminated Iran, and game over for them. Pack it up, go home. 1-0 USA. It was a tough game. I'm old enough to remember the 1998 World Cup and the U.S. Iran game that we lost 2-1. I was thinking it was 2-0, and then recently I rediscovered that it was 2-1. We scored a goal late in the game that was useless. Brian McBride scored it. But I remember that game, and I was really disappointed with that loss. So I didn't want this to repeat itself this time, and thankfully it didn't. The U.S. team, I've been following the U.S. team for a long time. Again, I've been around for a while. I've been around so long, okay? I've been around so long. How long have you been around? I've been around so long that I saw Pele play for the New York Cosmos, okay? I literally saw Pele play for the New York Cosmos in the 1970s. I was there at the stadium, at Giant Stadium in 1977. I have the banner. I have the magazine, from the game magazine, of his final match. I saw previous matches, but then I saw his final match in 1977, September, I believe it was, or October, against Santos, his former team. Came to Giant Stadium. They played a game. Pele played first half with Santos, and then played the second half with Cosmos, and that was it. Muhammad Ali showed up in the halftime. I remember booing Muhammad Ali. I was a young kid, little kid. But anyway, I'm old enough to remember that. My point is, hey, we have somebody here today. It's English night, Rochelle. Rochelle says he was rooting for the United States national team. Well, thank you for your support, Rochelle. So anyway, I was saying, I'm old enough to remember many U.S. teams, basically starting in 1990, really, because before 1990, the U.S. was non-existent as far as national teams went, at least for that period of time, the 80s, when the Cosmos and NASL collapsed, and soccer in America basically was dead, other than college soccer. And the 1990 team was exactly that. It was a college team, college players that basically managed to qualify and then went to the World Cup and actually did decently in a World Cup against Italy, and I forget who the other teams were, Poland maybe, but I think they might have even tied Italy, or maybe they lost all three, but it was relatively close. So anyway, what my point is I'm trying to get to is that the team that played today, the U.S. team that played today, okay, and I've seen many U.S. teams play since 1990. The team that played today is the, how would I say this? It is the most trustworthy American national team that I have ever seen. And by that, I mean, you can see that they are confident with the ball at their feet. They are confident passing the ball one to the other. They are confident on the field. They're not scared. On my soccer blog, my international soccer blog, for over a decade and a half, I've been talking about one of the key factors in any soccer player. It's confidence. It's not being afraid of the opponent. It's desire of winning. Those things are 75% of what you need. You need quality, but you can have all the quality you want, like the 2006 Brazilian national team had lots of quality, but they had zero desire. The Brazilian national team in 2006 was stacked, but they had zero desire. Okay, in the World Cup, and it showed. And we were eliminated, I think, by either France or Holland. I don't remember, but I know it wasn't good. So a team needs that, and this American team has all that. Has confidence. It has talent. It has desire, and it doesn't have fear. And it shows. What I saw today was a team passing the ball back and forth with confidence, like a real team, like an American team I've never seen before. My friend Rochelle says, I don't remember the last time the U.S. national team was eliminated in the World Cup group stage. Well, we didn't make the 2018 World Cup. That was really, really sad and unfortunate. Um, in 2014 in Brazil, I think we did make it out of the group. In 2010, I know we did. It was probably 2006. 2006 is the year that of this shirt right here. And for those interested, this is the U.S. 2006 jersey that I got autographed at the airport when the team was leaving to the World Cup in France. I went there with my wife, and players started arriving, and I started getting autographs. And I have a video somewhere of the whole thing. I posted on YouTube. But I think I might have it on private mode, so I have to make it public again. But yeah, it's so I got basically almost the entire team here. Claudia Reyna, Landon Donovan, they're all here on this shirt right here. But the team didn't do very well. This shirt would be worth $1 million if the team had won that World Cup, but unfortunately they didn't. They didn't get out of the group. My dog is here, George. Say hi, George. Say hi, George. So yeah, that was the last time, I think, 2006. It's always a tough. Yeah, United States is usually. You're right. It usually is a tough team to beat, even in 1994 when Brazil won the World Championship in 1994 here in the United States. The United States team didn't even qualify for the 94 World Cup. They were the host nation, so they automatically came in. The players on the 94 team were basically almost semi-professionals. Some of them played in some leagues around the world, but the U.S. didn't have a league at the time. And yet they made it out of their group, and then they played Brazil in the I think it was in the round of 16, and it might have been the quarterfinals. I forget now, but it was on the 4th of July, Independence Day of 1994, and the U.S. Played Brazil with Romário, Bebeto, Tafarel, Cafu. I think Cafu was on the team already. All those guys. And the United States lost only 1-0. It's true that Brazil Leonardo got a red card for elbowing Tab Ramos, and the U.S. had one player more than Brazil for half of the game. Yet still, it was only 1-0 on a Bebeto goal. So the United States has always been a tough team. 2009 Confederation Cup final. Look it up. Brazil against the United States. Confederation Cup 2009. The United States had Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey, among others. And what happened? First half, U.S. takes a 2-0 lead. I forget who, Clint Dempsey goal, and then a Landon Donovan goal on a counterattack. 2-0 U.S. against Brazil in the final of the Confederations Cup. Now, unfortunately, in the second half, Brazil came back and won the game 3-2 and won that championship. That would have been the biggest moment in U.S. soccer history up until that point. But unfortunately for the Americans, Brazil came back and won that 3-2. The next year, the U.S. went to the World Cup, did very well, had that amazing last-minute goal against Algeria. It was the same situation as today. They had to win the game. It was game 3, and they had to beat Algeria to go into the round of 16. And in the last minute, Landon Donovan scored. Half of the goal was Tim Howard, the goalkeeper. He threw the ball. Another thing I talk about a lot about with Internacional right here are the goalkeepers, and how it irritates me how long it takes for goalkeepers to put the ball in play. In that goal in 2010, with 1 minute left, I just found a video. Just now, I found a video of that goal from a fan camera, and you see the whole play. Algeria crossed the ball. Guy headed it. Tim Howard grabbed it. As soon as he grabbed the ball, he ran a little bit and threw it halfway down the field, right at Landon Donovan as he was running. Landon Donovan took the ball, kept going, passed it to Altidore, I think it was, or somebody, I forget now. And on the rebound, Landon Donovan put it in. Goal, United States won, and they went to the round of 16. Greatest moment in U.S. soccer history to this day. Even today, the win over Iran doesn't come close to what 2010 win in the last minute against Algeria was. Just doesn't compare. And that goal's on YouTube. If you YouTube Tim Howard Algeria goal, you have to YouTube that. You'll see a fan video of the whole thing, because the TV footage doesn't show Tim Howard throwing the ball. The fan camera shows Tim Howard throwing the ball. And it's an amazing goal, an amazing moment. And anyway, what was I talking about? So anyway, so the team today, the United States team today, gives me confidence that it can compete. It's going to, Saturday the game is against the Netherlands, Holland. And, it's not going to be easy. United States might lose, but it's definitely not going to be easy for Holland. It's definitely not going to be easy for Holland. And there's a chance the U.S. could pull it off. They could win. Why not? Why not? Another comment from my friend Rochelle. And I think there's a good chance the U.S. beats the Netherlands in knockout stage, because they're not looking very good in this World Cup. Yeah, that's a good point. A couple of things. There's a couple of teams that are looking really good, and now we'll talk about some other teams too. Brazil, especially in the second half. First half, Brazil hasn't been looking good, but Brazil's Brazil. So there's Brazil. France is looking pretty good, right? Who else, really? The Netherlands are okay, right? Germany's not doing too great. Argentina's not doing too great. We're not even sure if they're going to make it through, either one of them. So it's really Belgium's not doing too great. So there's a lot of teams that aren't doing all that was expected of them. So yeah, we basically have Brazil and France as the two contenders. And are they? I have to see if they are on the same side of the bracket, or if they're on opposite sides and they can meet. For example, Brazil, I don't think can. For the U.S., for example, cannot meet Brazil in the final. I looked it up, and the best that can happen in that scenario is Brazil play the U.S. in the semifinals. Just because the U.S. finished in second, Brazil finished in first. So what's going to happen is, at best, U.S. can make the semifinal and play Brazil. And here's the interesting thing for the United States. If the United States passes Holland, as of right this second, the two teams that are qualifying that will be next after Holland are Poland and Australia. Now, that may change before the third round ends, But as of right now, that next round is Poland versus Australia. The winner of Poland versus Australia will play the winner of US Holland. So if that actually happens, if the US beats Holland and gets the winner of Poland against Australia in the and goes into the in the quarterfinals and plays one of those two, then there's a really, really good chance that the US can actually make the semifinals. But then it would face Brazil, almost certainly. But that's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But yeah, I think the two big contenders, it's looking like Brazil, France, as long as both of them are on the right side of the bracket. Let me see. Brazil's in Group G, and France is in Group D. So let me look here. Brazil's in Group G, okay, and France is in Group D. Okay, so France is on the other side of the bracket. So basically, it can be Brazil, France final. Rochelle says, I watched that 2009 Confederations Cup final. It was an epic comeback for Brazil. Yeah, it definitely was great for Brazil. I have to admit, in 1994 at the World Cup when Brazil played the U.S. In the quarterfinals or whatever it was, I was torn. I'm Brazilian born, but I've lived my entire life practically, other than 7 years in Brazil, and I usually root for Brazil in anything, Olympics, basketball. If there's Brazil against the United States, I will always root for Brazil in any sport except soccer. For some reason, I have a hard time rooting against, probably because I've been following the American soccer team for a long time. So it's hard for me to root against them. Now, in 1994, when they faced each other, I was in a situation where it was like, who do I root for? In the end, I rooted for Brazil to win that game because I knew that Brazil had a better chance of winning the World Cup. If the United States had won that game in 1994, they probably would have lost the next one, and then I wouldn't have a team to root for. Do you know what I mean? If they meet at this World Cup in the semifinals, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because at that point, then, if it's Brazil, U.S. in the semifinal, a U.S. win puts them in the final. That would be amazing. That would be historic. And so I would have a hard time deciding if that were to happen. The good thing for me is that if it does happen, I win either way, because either way I would have a team in the final. Rochelle, there's Spain. Yes, there's Spain also, but Spain also hasn't been spectacular. Brazil won't meet France until the finals. Okay, good. Yep. If they do reach, correct. So it's an interesting situation. It's an interesting situation, and the U.S. Then let's take a look here and see what the overall situation is. So today we had Group A finish up. Netherlands in first, Senegal in second, Ecuador just choked. Ecuador lost the match today 2-1. All they needed was a tie. And let me tell you something. Ecuador didn't have what the U.S. had today. Ecuador seemed to go onto the pitch as if they weren't interested. That's what it was like. It was like, it didn't seem like they were playing a World Cup match that decided their future. At least that's the feeling. At least that's the feeling that I got. Let me put this down here. I'm probably making too much noise with this microphone. Get a little closer. So that's at least that's the feeling. That's the feeling that I got with that's the feeling that I got with Ecuador today. They just were not that interested. At least that's what it seemed like. And that's what it seems like. Ecuador, Mexico, Colombia, they just always fizz out, and that happened today. It's a shame because I enjoyed seeing Valencia play. He already had 3 goals, 4 if you count the one that was called back by VAR. So that was Group A. Netherlands in first, Senegal in second. Senegal's a good team. Group B was England in first. Oh, yeah, there's England too. We didn't mention England. They're okay, right? I think against the U.S., they kind of took it easy. They really didn't need the win. They knew they were going to get Wales, and they could beat Wales. So I don't know. And they were coming off of a big win against Iran. So the group ended with United States with 7 points. I'm sorry, United States with 5 points. England 7 points. So therefore now England gets Senegal, and the United States gets Netherlands. Iran, and Wales are out. Wales was very disappointing. But at least Bale got to play a World Cup. Now tomorrow, I believe tomorrow is Group C action, and Group D action. So tomorrow then we have, let's see here. Let's see what we have tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, so tomorrow we have first 2 games, Tunisia and France and Australia and Denmark. And then we have Poland, Argentina, and Saudi Arabia and Mexico. Let's see the situation on those guys there. Let's see. So we have, all right, Saudi Arabia and Mexico. Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland, and Argentina. Okay. So Poland's in first place, 4 points. Argentina 3. And then you got Saudi Arabia and Mexico. Wow, this is a tough group. I think Mexico's in trouble because even if they win, even if Mexico beats Saudi Arabia, right, they go to 4 points. But if Argentina beats Poland, Argentina's in, and Poland already has 4 points, and their goal differential might be better than Mexico's. So it's looking to me that it's going to be, Argentina wins tomorrow, finishes in first, Poland finishes in second, But then again, who knows? Saudi Arabia might be Mexico. Like I said, these teams, Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, they choke. They fizz out, right? And it's very likely or potentially likely that Saudi Arabia tomorrow can beat Mexico. And if that happens, Saudi Arabia goes to 6 points, right? Saudi Arabia goes to 6 points. Argentina will definitely need to win. I think Argentina basically needs to win no matter what. So, yeah, anything can happen here. Tomorrow is going to be very interesting. 2 matches, Poland against Argentina, Saudi Arabia against Mexico. Those games are in the afternoon, so they're later afternoon hour time here. The early games, Tunisia, France, Australia, Denmark. Let's see if those are going to be interesting at all. Tunisia, France. Okay, yeah, Tunisia, France. France is in first place already in the next round. Tunisia has 1 point, so they're still fighting for for a shot in there. They basically would need to beat. They have to beat France. That's what has to happen here. So they're kind of lucky that France has already made it. Maybe they're going to put reserves in. Maybe they'll take it easy, but I doubt it. So Tunisia would have to win that game and hope that, hope that Denmark and Australia tie. So yeah, so basically all four teams are alive. Tunisia and Denmark. I think Denmark has a really good chance here because they could win that game against Australia, go to 4 points, and then France probably Tunisia. So it'll be France and Denmark in the next round out of Group D. So I'm going to say Group C, Argentina. It's a tough one. This is a really tough one. I'm going to say Argentina, Saudi Arabia make it out. Argentina in first, Saudi Arabia in second. Okay? Because Mexico is going to choke. And in Group D, France and Denmark make it to the next round. Those are my picks for Group C and Group D. Rochelle, my buddy, says, South American teams have been choking for quite a while at World Cups recently. That's true. I was just thinking about that the other day. Think about it. 2006, who won? Italy. 2010, who won? Germany. 2014, I'm sorry, no. 2006, Italy won. 2010, who won in 2010? Was it Spain? Spain. 2014, Germany. 2018, France. All Europeans. Only Europeans have won the last 4 World Cups. It's one of the reasons why I'm really rooting for Brazil this year. South America needs to get back in it, you know? Rochelle, you and I think alike. I thought of mentioning Uruguay, but I didn't want to because I like Uruguay. It's a neighboring country to our state in Brazil, and I like them, so I didn't want to mention them. But I was thinking of it. I was thinking Uruguay also, but Uruguay is an interesting situation. We can't blame Uruguay. The population in Uruguay is 3 million people, right? Mexico population's like, what is it? 50, 60, 70 million people. Brazil has 200 million people. Uruguay has 3 million. There's more people in the Porto Alegre metropolitan area in Brazil than there is in the entire country of Uruguay. So Uruguay, their problem is that their team ages, gets old, and it's harder to resupply with fresh talent. But amazingly enough, I find it amazing that they constantly have great players. They always have great players, and but they tend to stick around longer. They tend to they tend to use them for a longer amount of time because they just don't have the resupply of players with as many other countries do, just because the population isn't there. So it's like they have a national team of a large city, of a decent sized city, But yeah, tends to happen with Uruguay also. They might not even make it out of their group. I hope Argentina loses, but I think they'll win. I mentioned this the other day. I'm going through uh, a soft uh, phase where I'm just, rooting for everybody in a way. Uh, and I actually am not rooting against Argentina. I want South American teams to do well. You know, if Argentina plays Brazil in the final, of course I'll root for Brazil. But I wouldn't. It wouldn't be the end of the world for me if Argentina were to win the World Cup if Brazil can't win it. I much rather see Argentina win than you know see Germany win or France or Croatia. So I especially don't like the Eastern European nations. I just don't like. Not that I don't like them. I don't like their soccer style, and it's hard to even watch. A game between Croatia and Serbia. It's like I'd rather watch grass grow. You know. Um, so yeah, I'm not rooting against Argentina. But it's like South America is only Brazil. But it's like South America is only Brazil. Uruguay hasn't won a World Cup since 1950, and Argentina last one in 1986. Yeah, Uruguay's wins. They have 2 World Cups, but very long time ago. Different. It was a little different back then. While Europe have like 5 or 6 candidates to win, South America barely has 2. By the way, Rochelle, your English is very good. Where did you learn your English there in Brazil? When Brazil gets knocked out, it's usually over. And what do you mean when Brazil gets knocked out, it's usually over? I thought like that too at first, but when I read too many hateful Argentinian comments against Brazil, it makes me too sour to cheer for them. Well, you have to avoid reading internet comments. You know, you can find comments by any country talking trash about Brazil. So the best solution is just to not read the comments. You know. Um, so yeah, so that's the situation there. That's the guys I'm picking for tomorrow. I'm picking just to recap there: Argentina in first, and and Saudi Arabia in second in Group C, and then in Group D, I'm picking France in first and Denmark in second. I don't think I'm going to go into the other groups right now because there's a lot of other groups and they're just playing later on. But I'll kind of go over it briefly. Group E, we have Spain, Japan, Costa Rica, and Germany. Yeah, that's another one. And I think Germany. Who does Germany play? Germany plays. Who does Germany play? Costa Rica. Okay. So Germany plays Costa Rica. And Spain plays Japan. Yeah, Costa Rica won that last game, but they were horrible in the first match. Costa Rica was the worst team in game one that they lost 7-0 to Spain. And I think Germany will probably trounce them, going to 4 points, and then Japan probably is not going to survive against Spain. So it's probably going to be Spain in first and Germany in second. Group F, we have Croatia with 4 points, Morocco with 4 points, Belgium 3 points, Canada 0. Canada's out. Morocco impressed me. They run. Morocco runs. Croatia's the defending second place team from the last World Cup. Let's see who they play. Who plays who? Croatia plays Belgium. So Croatia plays Belgium, and Morocco plays Canada. Canada, nothing to lose. Morocco with 4 points either has to Morocco can actually lose as long as Croatia wins. Okay? But Belgium's going to need to win there, and I think Belgium might, pull it out, pull it off. That's a tough one. Croatia, Belgium. That's a tough one. That's going to be a good game. That is going to be a good game. A tie is not enough for Belgium. The only way a tie is enough for Belgium is if they tie and then Canada defeats Morocco by 4-0. And I don't think that's going to happen. So Belgium needs to beat Croatia. Croatia needs to tie. So who do I pick in this group? I'm going to go with Belgium. I'm going to go with Morocco in first place and Belgium in second place. Morocco will beat Canada and Belgium will beat Croatia. So Morocco will end up in first place, Croatia and Belgium in second place. That's my pick in Group F. Group G, Brazil, Switzerland, Cameroon, Serbia. Brazil first place. Brazil will play Cameroon. And then Switzerland will play Serbia. Let's see. Switzerland against Serbia. I'm trying to remember here what I thought of these guys. I'm gonna have to go with Switzerland. I just think defensively they seem more stable. Serbia got scored on 5 times in 2 games. So I'm thinking Brazil first, Switzerland second in Group G. And then finally Group H, Portugal, Ghana, South Korea, and Uruguay. Now, Portugal's already in. Portugal is another team I'm rooting for. I am mostly Portuguese descendant. I have German in me, but I'm mostly Portuguese, 68% Portuguese, 20% German, and then the rest a mix of other things. So I have a soft spot for Portugal. And they're already in, so that's good. And like I said, I have a soft spot for Uruguay also. I like Uruguay. They're friendly neighbors in Brazil. And culturally very similar to Gaúchos. They are Gaúchos. So are we in our state, Rio Grande do Sul. So anyway, can Uruguay make it? Well, let's see. Who does Uruguay play? Let's see here. Uruguay plays Ghana. Okay, Uruguay, Ghana, Portugal against South Korea. Everybody's alive. Ghana has 3 points. Portugal has 6. South Korea has 1 point. Uruguay has 1 point. What can happen here? Uruguay against Ghana. As my friend Rochelle said, Uruguay is one of those teams that tend to fizz out, choke in the end, So I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised at all to see Ghana defeat Uruguay or draw with Uruguay. I want to say Uruguay is going to win. But I'm not going to say Uruguay is going to win. I'm going to say Uruguay is going to choke. And again, I don't even want to say choke, because poor Uruguay, it's rough. 3 million people. It's a small pool to choose from. So I'm going to say Portugal in first. They are going to beat South Korea. And then Ghana in second place. Now, does South Korea have a chance? Let's see. Can they beat Portugal? They can. Portugal already basically won the group. Maybe they're playing some people off the bench. Maybe they'll take it a little bit easy, and South Korea wins. That South Korea would go to 4 points. If that were to happen, Uruguay, first of all, if that were to happen, Ghana would have to win, and Uruguay also would have to win, and Uruguay would have to win with some goal differential. So basically, this group is wide open still. But I'm going to go with Portugal and Ghana making it through to the round of 16. So I think I picked Portugal, Ghana, Brazil, Switzerland, Belgium, Morocco, Belgium, Spain, Germany, France, Denmark. Who else did I pick? Argentina, Saudi Arabia, and then the other groups is already defined: England, USA, Netherlands, Senegal. So I think those are going to be the 16. You know, we're going to get some smaller quote unquote nations in there: Senegal, United States, smaller in the soccer sense, Saudi Arabia, Morocco. We could have 2 African countries in the round of 16. Maybe even 3. I think I said Ghana. Yeah, that would be 3 African countries in the round of 16. That's unprecedented, I think. So quite very, very, very interesting, the situation. I want to talk about one other thing. I had mentioned elsewhere that there hadn't been one call taken back by VAR for any foul in the origin of the play. In Brazilian soccer, that happens all the time. Team scores, my team scores. They go to VAR. They find a foul 20 seconds before the goal, and then they cancel the goal. That happens all the time in Brazilian soccer, and unfortunately, it seems to happen in favor of certain teams all the time. Now, the World Cup, I noticed that 20-something games in, that hadn't happened one time yet. The only time goals have been disallowed was for offside, not for, a foul in the origin of the play. And then finally today, it happened for the first time. The Netherlands game, the third goal that was called back, they went to VAR and they saw handball in the origin of the play, so the goal didn't count. But other than that, they haven't been, I think, going back looking for fouls. Do you know what I'm saying? So FIFA needs to clarify if this is something that they want to do, that everybody should do or not. Because if you are going to go back and find fouls, you're going to find fouls in every corner kick. Every corner kick, there's somebody grabbing a shirt. Are we going to give penalties every time somebody grabs a shirt? And if you give a penalty one time when somebody grabs a shirt, you got to give a penalty every time. You can't selectively pick when somebody when this is a foul, and then the next game or the next minute this is not a foul. Let me catch up on some messages here from Rochelle. Thanks. I don't really practice with anyone, but I've learned mostly from English language music and other English speaking media. My wife learned Portuguese that way, especially watching Brazilian soaps. Germany will go through. Japan couldn't have lost that game against Costa Rica. Now they have got to beat Spain, and I can't really see that happening. And as I mentioned, I don't think that's going to happen either. I think Japan is out. I have an American friend that lives in Arizona too. I used to talk a lot to her some years ago. No, yeah, no, your English is very good. It's I haven't I don't think I've seen one mistake, you know. And usually you see little things that for example, you know, an email, you get a lot of spam um and scam emails. And a lot of times you'll get an email, right? And the English will be real bad. And you're like, okay, this is obviously a scam, and it's probably from China or it's probably from Russia because the English, there's a word here and there that's just not right. It's not in the right place. The person that wrote it might not know that. They think it's okay. I got it right. This is perfect. Perfect scam email. It's not perfect because if the person in the native language will pick out little things, and I don't see that in your English. So you can actually go ahead and write perfect scam emails because I won't pick up on it. And Rochelle, and she made fun of me every time I made a typo, so I had to improve my English to not get bullied. Yeah, no, you're doing good, man. You're doing good. I have German descent, but cheer against them too because I don't want them to reach Brazil's 5 World Cups. Yeah, I like I said, I'm 20% German. The back of my jersey, the back of my jersey has my German last name, but I don't have a bond with Germany. I don't dislike them or anything like that. Maybe one day I will have a bond with them, but I don't particularly root for them. Let's see. I usually cheer for any team that isn't European since they think they're so good and all. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that. You should do a World Cup simulation to show how you think it will turn out until the finals. Well, I already picked my 16. I already picked my 16, so I could keep going and go all the way through. Maybe I'll do that. I feel like they maliciously will use VAR in favor for the teams they want to win in the Brazilian club football. Yeah, it's like I try not to believe that, but sometimes it's hard to see you see what you see, and you're like, how could this happen? There's got to be something going on, or they're just really incompetent. But I have my doubts. Yeah, same thoughts. I have the same thought. Maybe they're just incompetent. But it wasn't until something happened in the Brazilian league a couple of months ago. I forget what it was. I think it was a penalty somewhere. Yeah, I think it was a Flamengo thing. And I was like, man, that can't be incompetence. Oh yeah, it was a VAR call, and I think it was it a handball? Yeah, it was a handball, I think, right? And they didn't give it. I was like, how could how could they, how could they not call that? So is it incompetence or not? I don't know. But I'm tired of blaming it on incompetence. I think it's more than that at this point. We all know Kunneman would be red carded every single game if the VAR looked for fouls in corner kicks. Kunneman Grêmio with defensive back. Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, let me see if I could quickly go through here this thing. Then I'll try to go real quick through it. 1A against 2B. Okay, so 1A is going to be Netherlands against 2B, United States. See, it's starting. That's a tough choice for me. Um, I'm going to say United States. Okay. And then they get, I already mentioned this before, they get the winner of Poland against Denmark. That's tough. Poland against Denmark. Probably, I'm going to say Denmark would win that. So it would probably then be U.S. against Denmark in the quarterfinal. That's one group. Then the other group would be Brazil against, boy, it's tough to do it this way. Let me see here. It would be Brazil against, well, actually, maybe I should just wait until the groups are defined. I think that's what I'll do. I'm going to wait until the groups are defined, and then I'll do that. Because right now I'm just guessing really on most of these teams. But yeah, I think it looks like I think it's going to be at least in this one little quarterfinal be United States against Denmark. United States beats Holland. Denmark beats Poland. And then they meet in the quarterfinal. But yeah, I'll do that once round 3 is over and all the round of 16 are defined. Then I'll come back and do that. But yeah, so anyway, couple of last details about the United States. I never know how to pronounce his name. Pulisic. He was in the hospital after he scored the goal. I thought maybe he broke some ribs or something, but apparently it wasn't ribs. It looked like it was some sort of a pelvis injury, and he was already at the hotel. There's a video of him on Twitter at the hotel cheering the players on as they come back from the bus. He looked like a fan with his phone filming. He was all smiles, and so he said in the hospital that he will be there Saturday to play. We'll see what happens. But the U.S. also lost Sargent to injury, and we don't know if he's going to come back. The U.S. also has a player on my shirt right here. Right here, this autograph right here. This one right here. Number 10, Claudio Reyna. Who's Claudio Reyna? Claudio Reyna was the United States best player before Landon Donovan arrived. Okay. In the 1998 World Cup, Claudio Reyna was in that game against Iran, the game I mentioned earlier that the United States lost 2-1 in the 98 World Cup. Claudio Reyna was a young player at the time, up and coming, and he was the hopes for the United States soccer. Okay. Well, Claudio Reyna then went on to play the 2002 World Cup. I believe he was there. Though I don't remember much of him in that World Cup, but I think he was there. Maybe he was injured. I don't know. And then he was in the 2006 World Cup when he signed this jersey. But why am I telling you this? Because his son, I think his name is, Giuseppe Reyna? Gio Reyna. His son plays on the U.S. team now. And he is on the bench. He came in for about 7 minutes in the second game. And many U.S. fans want him on the team. He's like 19 years old. He's a young guy. He wasn't even alive when Claudio, his father, played in the 98 World Cup. When his father signed this jersey in 2006, Gio Reyna was, I don't know, 4, 5, something like that. maybe 5 years old. He's 19 now, I believe. And he's supposed to be the next big thing in American soccer. But he's on the bench. So a lot of people are saying, why is Gio Reyna not playing? And the rumor is that Greg Berhalter, the coach of the United States, has had some issues with him. But at the same time, Gio Reyna is coming back from injury. So maybe it's the injury. But the interesting thing is, after the game today, you can see after the game, they show it on TV, the players walking around the field, high-fiving each other, hugging, the coach walking around. And then there's a little moment where Greg Berhalter, the coach, hugs Gio Reyna, and Gio Reyna hugs him back with a smile on his face. And that might seem like nothing, but to a lot of people, that's a sign that, okay, maybe things are okay between them. But now there's another video of the team coming back from the stadium, and they arrive at the hotel. There's fans everywhere. Pulisic is there with his camera filming everybody coming in, and he's all smiles. The guy that got hurt, that scored the goal, he got to the hotel first because he was at the hospital. And in the video, you see Gio Reyna walking behind the other players. The other players are all smiles, and Gio Reyna has his headphones on, and he's not smiling at all. So everybody's saying, oh, look, you can tell he's not happy. He didn't play. But look, he didn't play, right? But you know what? The U.S. hasn't lost. They are undefeated so far. They made it into the next round. So you can't blame the coach. He's doing the right thing. And you have arrested Gio Reyna for the next match if need be. So, we can't blame the coach. And for those watching that don't know who the American coach is, his name is Greg Berhalter. Who the hell is Greg Berhalter? Greg Berhalter, he was a defensive player for the United States national team in the 2002 World Cup. And here's an interesting little tidbit about the coach, Greg Berhalter. If you go back to the 2002 World Cup, the United States had a very, very good World Cup. They made it out of the group, and then they played Germany in the quarterfinals, I think it was. Might have been the quarterfinals or the round of 16, I forget. But they played Germany. And in that game, the U.S. almost dominated Germany. The United States dominated Germany in that game. But then in an isolated moment, Germany scored 1-0, and they got ahead, right? Later in the game, towards the end of the game, the U.S. desperately needing to score. On a corner kick, Greg Berhalter was right in front of the goal, and he tapped the ball with his leg. The German goalkeeper didn't get it, and the ball is going in. And the German defender, was under the goal, literally under the goal. And the ball hit his hand right here. As clear as day. You couldn't miss it if you were blind. The ball going in the goal hits his arm and falls to the ground, and then it's cleared by the defense. The ref is right there, and he doesn't give a penalty. Nothing. As a matter of fact, he gave a foul against the United States afterwards for whatever happened after the handball. So anyway, that was Greg Berhalter, the American coach that hit the ball that was going in, that would have taken the game into either overtime or penalties, I forget. So anyway, interesting story there of Gio Reyna. So let's see what happens. There's a lot of interesting players in the United States teams. A lot of interesting players on this team. And there's Arison, the kid from New Jersey. He came in today. He didn't do that much, but he had to fill in for Pulisic, and he did okay. So anyway, should be interesting. I think I'm going to wrap it up. It's over an hour now of this. And let me see if there's any more comments here. Yeah, a couple more comments. Yes, you can start your spam career, and people like me will not detect you as a Brazilian spam artist. We've seen at least 2 overreactions from VAR in the last 2 decisive international games in the 2020 Brazilian Championship against Flamengo and Corinthians. Yeah, those were horrendous. It's terrible. It's unbelievable. That red card that for Rodinei, which should have been a yellow, and the Flamengo match, and the penalty kick that was took back in the Corinthians match. Yeah. And in the World Cup yesterday, Uruguay game, that handball penalty where the guy was leaning back. Corinthians, not a penalty. So one of the most painful things is when I hear later on, a year later, 2 years later, 3 years, 10 years later, when I hear journalists, right, in Brazil or even here, I saw American journalists talking about the Brazilian league. I was watching a game, and they were talking. I think it was a Brazilian league game, but it was American TV, and they were talking about the 2020 season. They talk about Flamengo, and they're like, "Oh, Flamengo won the 2020 season," right? No mention, no mention of the VAR situation, of how systematically Internacional was robbed. That's my problem with that kind of stuff. When they talk about the 2005 season, they just say Corinthians was champion. They don't talk about the games that were canceled and had to be replayed, right? They don't talk about the Chinga penalty that wasn't given, and the red card that he got for having a foul done on him in the box. They don't talk about those things because history erases all that. The only thing that history talks about is who the champion is. So for eternity, we're always going to hear Flamengo champion of 2020, right? And over time, people forget the details of that, and the only thing that stays is the lie, is that team won, and nobody, the professional reporters, they're not going to mention that. They're not going to go, well, Flamengo won, but it was they're just not going to go there. All they say is Flamengo champion, Corinthians champion, blah blah blah. So yeah. Okay, so I think that's going to be a wrap. I will try to come back then after this round finishes, and we can do a final bracket to see who we think is going to win the whole thing. But anyway, I'm very happy today with the United States. Played very well, confident. I feel that the United States has reached a new level. One last detail: Carlos Queiroz, the coach of Iran. Who is Carlos Queiroz? Carlos Queiroz, Portuguese coach. He coached here in the United States in the 1990s. Now, interesting detail to close the night. Interesting detail. After Carlos Queiroz coached the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars, who are today, that team now is the New York Red Bull. They're not the Metro Stars anymore. But after Carlos Queiroz was the coach of the Metro Stars, he got a job. I don't know if it was a job or an assignment from the U.S. Soccer, right? From the U.S. Soccer Federation, to put together a report to try to figure out what the United States needs to build a World Cup champion team. This was in the 90s. Okay. When he was done, it was him and somebody else. I forget who the somebody else was. When Carlos Queiroz was done, he authored a document that I think the title was 2010 2010 something. I forget what the title was, but the idea was, the document was what the United States needs to do to be champion of the World Cup champion by 2010. That was pretty ambitious, being that it was written like 1997, right? Now, obviously, it didn't happen in 2010. The United States did not win the World Cup, but nonetheless, Carlos Queiroz wrote that report, handed it to the U.S. Soccer Federation, and changes were made to improve soccer and build it up and try to get the United States to be able to compete on a world level. And they're getting there a little bit at a time. The United States is getting there. All right. Let's see. Let me see if there's any other comments here. Yeah. Both decisions were made by VAR and not by the game referees, and both wrong decisions as seen in similar cases from other games. Absolutely. The U.S. will probably be the only CONCACAF national team to make it past group stage in this World Cup. Yeah, it certainly looks that way. Certainly looks that way, at least from what I just chose, right? Canada's out. Costa Rica has to beat Germany, and Mexico is too far behind their group opponent in points. Yeah, I think you're right, man. I won't lie, says Rochelle. That 2020 Brazilian Championship being robbed from Internacional hurts me to this day. It's probably the most hurt I've ever got from being a soccer fan. That was pretty bad. 2005 was pretty bad too, and I wasn't very happy with what they did in 2009 when teams lost on purpose to help Flamengo beat us in points. That's why we need a championship game. I got to tell you, we need a championship game in the Brasileirão. Okay, this 38 game thing is fine, but you need to have a championship match. You get the leader and you get the second place team, and you make one game the championship game. That's it. What does that cost? Who does that hurt? Why do we have to copy? Why do we have to copy the way they do it in uh, in Europe? Why does it have to? Who says it has to be no final? It's stupid. It's totally stupid. You need to have a final, as far as I'm concerned. So do it the way you're doing it now, right? But in the end, after the 38 games, whoever finished first plays whoever finishes second for the championship. It's that simple. Doesn't matter if they're 5 points ahead or 10 points ahead. First place plays second place. You need to have a final. It's that simple. You need to have a final. And then to say, oh, but that's what we have Copa do Brasil for. That's not enough. That's different. That's a different thing. Agree with the championship game idea. Maybe one day they'll wake up and they'll realize how stupid this is to not have a final. To have teams play and then somebody's champion 5 weeks before the end of the season. It's just stupid. When I think back of Brasileirão, I think back of finals, right? 1979, Internacional Vasco. 1975, Internacional Cruzeiro. 1976, Internacional Corinthians. Those are finals, right? We can remember them decades later. What was the final of 2013? There was none. What was the final of 2015? There was none. You forget about it. You only of course only the championship fans are going to remember, oh, we won, but they're going to just remember it all as a whole. They're not going to remember, oh, that one game. So it's just stupid. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you for anybody watching later and commenting later. And I will come back before the World Cup is over, and I hope to do more of these during the Brasileirão next year, because I think Inter is going to do very well. All right. Boa noite, good night, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.